Most nights as a 911 operator in Bakersfield, California, are predictable. Domestic disputes, minor car accidents, the occasional burglary. But every so often, a call comes in that stays with you. One that burrows into your brain, making you question everything you thought you knew about the world. I've taken thousands of emergency calls in my 6 years on the job, but there's one that still haunts me to this day. I remember the date vividly, October 21st, 2019. It was a chilly Monday night, just past 2 a.m. The dispatch room was quiet except for the low hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional crackle of a police radio. Then my phone rang. At first, I thought it was a prank, just another drunk or a kid playing around. But the voice on the other end, it was nothing like I had ever heard before. The call begins. 911, what's your emergency? I asked, my voice steady, professional. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then a whisper, so soft I almost missed it. Help me, he's outside. I sat up straighter in my chair, my fingers hovering over my keyboard. Ma'am, I need you to speak louder. Who is outside? He's watching me. Her voice was trembling, barely audible over what sounded like a cold wind whipping against the phone's receiver. I quickly glanced at the call log. The number was coming from an old landline registered to a house on Sycamore Street, just outside city limits. Okay, stay with me. What's your name? No answer. Just the same shaky breathing. Then a soft, knocking sound in the background. He's at the window. A chill ran down my spine. My training kicked in. Are your doors locked? Can you move to a safe place in the house? Silence again. Then something bone-chilling. He has no face. I felt my breath hitch. Excuse me? Who has no face? The line went dead. I stared at the silent phone, my pulse pounding in my ears. Calls like this weren't uncommon. Panicked callers, cryptic phrases, people seeing things in the dead of night. But there was something different about this one. Something wrong. I immediately checked the system. The call had come from 2167 Sycamore Street, an old isolated house on the outskirts of Bakersfield. I pulled up the property records. The name associated with the address was Marjorie Wells, a woman in her late 70s. I tried calling the number back, no answer. Protocol dictated I send an officer to check it out. I radioed the closest unit, Officer Daniel Ruiz, who'd been patrolling near the area. Dispatch to Unit 45, possible prowler at 2167 Sycamore Street. Elderly female caller reported someone outside her window. Line disconnected before I could get more info. There was a brief pause before his voice crackled back. 10-4 dispatch. I know that place. Thought it was abandoned. En route now. That made my stomach twist. Abandoned. I double-checked the records. The landline was still active, registered under Marjorie's name. There were no reports of vacancy. But Ruiz had been working in Bakersfield for over a decade. He knew the area better than I did. Are you sure? The system still shows it as occupied, I said, my fingers tightening around my headset. I don't know, man. Haven't seen lights. On in years. Place gives me the creeps. I didn't like this. I didn't like it at all. The house comes into view. I kept my eyes locked on the live GPS feed as Ruiz's squad car pulled onto Sycamore Street. His dashcam showed a narrow, cracked road lined with dead trees swaying in the cold night wind. The streetlights were sparse, their dim glow barely reaching the overgrown yards. Then I saw it. The house. Even through the grainy dashcam feed, it looked wrong. The windows were dark, the paint on the siding peeled and gray, like no one had lived there in decades. The front yard was nothing but patchy weeds and dead grass. Ruiz's voice came through the radio again. Dispatch, I'm pulling up now. No visible signs of movement. House looks pretty run down. Copy that. Approach with caution. I listened as he stepped out of the car, his boots crunching on the gravel driveway. The microphone on his radio picked up the wind howling through. The empty street. Then a creak. "Front porch is unstable, wood's rotting," Ruiz muttered. My hands felt clammy against the desk. I checked the time. 2:19 a.m. "I'm knocking." 3 solid thuds. Silence. Then movement from inside. I heard it through his radio before he even spoke. A faint shuffling sound, slow, uneven. "Dispatch." "I think there's someone inside," Ruiz said, his voice lower now. I held my breath. The house was supposed to be empty. No lights, no signs. Of recent activity, but something or someone was moving in there. Then Ruiz whispered something that sent a shiver down my spine. "There's a light on upstairs now, but that's impossible." I checked the dashcam feed again. The upstairs window had been pitch black when he arrived. Now, a dim yellow glow seeped through his hand on his holster. Then, the front door creaked open, on its own. "Dispatch." His voice was tight, uneasy. "I think someone's inviting me in." The radio cut out. "Dispatch?" Ruiz's voice came through. The radio again, but something was off. The usual confidence in his tone was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite place. A strange detachment. "Ruiz?" I said quickly, my fingers tightening around the desk. "Do you copy? What's your
Status, static."
Then footsteps, slow, measured. They echoed through his radio as if he were walking through a vast, empty space. But the house wasn't that big. I switched to the squad car's dashcam feed. The front door was still open. Ruiz's flashlight beam cut through the darkness inside. "I'm inside." His voice crackled. There's no furniture, just dust. Like no one's lived here for years." Something wasn't adding up. "What about the light you saw upstairs?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ruiz hesitated. "It's gone now. But there's something else. The air, it's heavy, like the whole place is holding its breath." A sharp creak came through the radio, followed by another slow shuffle. "Dispatch," Ruiz whispered. "I think someone's here with me." I swallowed hard. "Can you see them?" A long pause. Then, "Not exactly, but I can hear them. Breathing." My monitor flashed another incoming call from the same landline. 2167 Sycamore Street. Cold fear wrapped around my spine. "Ruiz, I'm getting another call from inside the house, but you're already there." I could hear his breathing quicken. "That's not possible. There's no phone here. Just empty rooms and..." He stopped abruptly. A noise cut through the radio, a faint whisper, too soft to understand, but unmistakably a voice. Then Ruiz screamed. His radio cut to static. I shot up from my chair. "Ruiz! Ruiz!" Silence. I forced myself to stay calm, fighting the urge to panic. I needed backup there now. I called in every available unit to his location, my heart hammering, as I watched the unmoving live feed from his dashcam. Then the front door of the house, the one I'd just seen open, swung shut. Ruiz was inside, and he wasn't coming out. The house that wasn't there. Backup arrived in under 6 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. The officers approached. With caution, weapons drawn. No sign of movement, no sound. Then I heard one of them curse through the radio. "Dispatch, there's no house." I froze. "What do you mean? It's right in front of you." "Negative." The officer's voice was tense. "We're at 2167 Sycamore Street, but it's just an empty lot." My stomach plummeted. I pulled up the property records again, my hands trembling. That's when I saw it. A note in the system I hadn't noticed before. 2167 Sycamore Street, demolished in 1987. I stared at the screen, my brain refusing to process it. That wasn't possible. I had seen the house on the dashcam feed. Ruiz had gone inside, and now it was gone. One last transmission. We searched for hours. No sign of Ruiz, no footprints, no signs of struggle. It was as if he had never been there at all. Then, at 3:33 a.m., something happened that still haunts me to this day. His squad car radio turned back on. Through the static, his voice came through, distorted, distant. Dispatch. I think I understand now. My blood ran cold. There's no way out. A pause. Then in a voice that wasn't quite his, he whispered, "Don't let them answer the call." The radio went dead. We'd never found Officer Ruiz. His case remains open, but off the record, no one talks about it anymore. And me, I still work the night shift, still answer the calls. But every time a dead line reconnects or I hear breathing on the other end, I wonder, what if it's him? And that brings us to the end of another chilling story, reminding us that not everything is safe, even when we reach out for help. I hope this tale kept you on edge and hooked until the very last second. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to bring you more spine-tingling stories. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a terrifying tale. Thank you for listening to another story here on Echoes of Fear. Until next time, and remember, sometimes danger is closer than you think. Good night, and stay safe.